Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2002 crime drama City of God. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I would like to give a special shout out to Leon for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you'd like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, City of God is one of those films that has gotten a lot of critical acclaim. It's a movie that's been on a lot of people's best of the year list when it comes to the year 2002. And it's a film that I've definitely heard about, but I didn't really get around to checking it out until recently. I think part of it's because I'm not super big on foreign films. I find a lot of them to be a little more pretentious than I would personally like. So it's just one of those things where I think for that reason, the fact that it was a foreign film, it kind of was something that made me skip it after all this time, despite the fact that I remember hearing a lot of good things about it. I remember hearing that it was a good companion piece to other crime dramas like Goodfellas and so on and so forth. And I'm really glad that I got this request because I thought this film was absolutely tremendous. I thought this film was amazing. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a genuinely compelling and just enthralling movie. Honestly, I thought it was so good that it's already in my top five when it comes to crime dramas. It's directed by Fernando Meirelles and Kátia Lund, and the two directors just did a unbelievable job with this movie. From the opening sequence, which is full of like a lot of really ambitious and just awe-inspiring camera work all the way throughout the film. It's just a visual splendor. Like, it's a film that really features some absolutely impressive and skilled direction. The kind of direction that just on its own makes the film fun to watch because of the fact that you're just waiting to see what the directors are going to come up with next, what kind of shot they're going to showcase. I mean, you got POV shots of like a chicken running around and down the street. You've got a lot of up close shots, zooms, pans. This is just a film that features pretty much every filmmaking technique that you can think of, and then some, and it's employed in a way that's just excellent. It also is something that just makes the film so lively, so energetic, and it really also enhances the moments of action as well as the moments of drama. It's just a really top-notch film from a visual perspective. Honestly, it features some of the best direction I've seen when it comes to this kind of film and in this genre of filmmaking. Uh, it, it's really a damn shame that this didn't get as many awards from the Academy as I feel that it deserved, because I honestly think you would be hard pressed to find better direction from the year 2002 than what you have here from these two directors. I'm honestly really curious to see what else they did after City of God, because what they managed to accomplish with this film is nothing short of spectacular. Now, the film is written by Braulio Mantovani. It's based on City of God by Paulo Lins, which I believe is a novel of the same name, which in itself is based on a true story. So the fact that there's a lot of elements of this that are based in reality and in truth definitely does help it in terms of having more of a palpable impact. But even if it wasn't, this would still be a really special, a really great script. And what's interesting to me is that there are a lot of elements of this screenplay that, with a lesser overall film, could be problematic. There's a heavy emphasis on narration when it comes to a particular character. There is a very unorthodox structure when it comes to the way that the plot unfolds throughout the film. It's one of those movies where there are what you honestly could consider to be vignettes. So you have little portions of the movie that act as almost their own singular story, and it only loosely connects with the main narrative. So there's a lot of things that could potentially be difficult when it comes to getting into the film, or finding the movie to be something that is ultimately satisfying when it comes to the story. But it's just so well written. It's so rich when it comes to its characterization. It's so good when it comes to how these different vignettes are put together, that it all just winds up working brilliantly in the end. And what I really love about this screenplay is that it has so many characters, and it spans so much time, and it never really gets muddled. It never really winds up becoming something that loses you as a viewer. You don't get lost. There's not moments where it feels like it's meandering around. All of the vignettes, all of the different story beats are equally as effective or equally as compelling as the other. And it's got a really good mix of hard, visceral violence that definitely does add a lot of grit and some genuine realism to the film and rawness to it, but it also has some genuine moments of levity. So it knows how to balance things out. So you'll have scenes where you might chuckle a little bit, or there might be some kind of sweet, charming little romance going on, and I just really like that about it, that it knew how to have that kind of balance, because there's a lot of films like this that just aren't able to really just successfully pull that off. Uh, a lot of critics and a lot of fans of this film have pointed out that it has similarities to Goodfellas, and I could definitely see that, because that's another film that did a great job spanning multiple decades, having a wide array of characters, and having a similar balance when it comes to its tone. I also really like the protagonist and his story and his arc. Like Rocket is a character that, throughout the story, the more you get to know him, the more you see what he is into, or what his desires are, or what he's looking for in life, the more you root for him. So you have a very strong protagonist, which really makes the antagonists in this film, like Little Zay and a Carrot and all of these other people who are part of these gangs, or the Runts. It really makes them all the more effective, because you have such a likable and engaging protagonist. Like, this poor guy, like, he just keeps getting screwed over uh constantly throughout the movie. He just wants to get laid. He keeps getting screwed in that regard, but not in the way that he wants. And then ultimately things work out in a way that benefits him greatly, and provides him a way to get out of the favelas, to get out of the slums, and to live the life that he's always wanted to live as a photographer. And the way that things just culminate when it comes to his arc is just so good. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of, despite the subject matter, it's kind of cathartic. It's kind of a crowd pleasing moment where he gets to be a photographer and takes photos in the middle of this gang war, and he gets to showcase his talents in a way that gets him an internship and provides him with a clear path to genuinely go somewhere in his life and not have to be a hoodlum or not have to be a hood. And it's not just his character that works. Benny is also a strong character, this charismatic hood who's just a cool guy. And after a certain point, he just wants out. But tragically, he's not able to leave this life. He ends up losing his life before he's able to leave it. Um, Little Zay, like the way that the script handles his character, it really makes him into an interesting villain. This is a character that has a very disturbing backstory. When he was a kid, he just went on a murder spree and shot a bunch of people in a hotel because it was fun. And then when he got older, because of the fact that he never really grew up, he has this very childish mentality when it comes to him being this drug lord. And the only thing that he really has in mind for what is worth anything in his life is control and power and killing people and humiliating people, because he's not able to have the other things that other adults around him are able to get. He's not good with women. He's not able to get a girl. He tries to get a girl to dance with him at a club. She's already with someone. So the depth that the writer creates for Little Zay is really quite impressive. It's definitely something that really makes the movie stand out when it comes to the storytelling. Because even the villain, even the bad guy, even he's given some significant depth when it comes to his character. And just the other things like the runts and how everything happens with their arc, where they step in and essentially ruin Rocket's chances of being with this girl Angelica. She seems like she might be into him. Seems like they might make out, and then maybe do something a little bit extra later. But the runts come in and ruin it, and then the runts have this whole overarching arc throughout the script, where they don't just show up there; they show up throughout the story. They're a nuisance. They're the bane of Little Zay, but then eventually Little Zay, because of this gang war that's going on with him and Carrot, he ultimately gives them guns and agrees to allow them to be a part of his gang. But the runts are in a lot of ways like he was when he was a kid, and but this time it's multiplied, and they don't have any loyalty to him because he tried to get rid of them earlier. In fact, he even had one of their own shot and killed, and another one shot in the foot in a very intense scene. And ultimately, the runts are the cause of Little Zay's demise. They're the ones that decide, nah, we're not going to take orders from you anymore. You gave us guns, so we're going to take your operation. We're going to take you out. And the way that things came full circle with that subplot was really solid, was really good. And just the image of these kids with guns just going around and essentially taking over and becoming the new uh, slumlords is a pretty striking image when you think about it, and it's definitely compelling. It definitely makes you think. And there's just a lot of stuff in this script that just is really excellent. Does a really good job in terms of establishing the setting and and the mood and just a good feel of Rio and the favelas and the neighborhood that these people are living in, and it does what a good crime drama is supposed to do. It's supposed to be compelling. It's supposed to be engaging. It's supposed to have a pretty a wide array of characters and plots and other things that ultimately come together in the end. And that's what happens here. Like, you have a gang war. You have the moments where they're selling drugs and so on and so forth, and I just like how it escalates and how it builds up and then how it ultimately does pay off in the end. And even from how the opening sequence connects with the ending of the movie. Like, the opening of the film is the ending of the movie. And the way that that is strung together is really special, is really solid. It's really great. And yeah, I just overall thought that this script was just definitely something that was truly tremendous. It was a tremendous screenplay, and there's just so many things about it that I feel just really created a very rich and very immersive story. And it's just one of those films that, despite the fact that, yeah, you could argue that maybe there's just not a lot that is that unique, or not a lot that is technically happening throughout, but there's enough intrigue and there's enough moments where you will get a moment of intensity. You'll get a moment where things are uh, legitimately tense, that keep drawing you in and keep pulling you into the story. And how it all pays off in the end is ultimately very satisfying. So it's not one of those things where it has a conclusion that ultimately doesn't work, or it's disappointing in some way or another. Now, the film also features, in my opinion, an amazing cast. And what makes it even more amazing is that, other than one actor, the actor who plays Carrot, Matheus Nachtergaele, every single other actor and actress in this film was not a professional actor. So when you know that and you realize that and you see this film, it's mind blowing, because the performances are authentic, they are strong, they're not amateurish by any means. They don't come across like people trying to act and failing and doing badly. Everyone who has even the smallest part in this movie, from the adults even down to the children actors, they all come across as very equally as effective. And that's something that is hard to see in a multitude of different films. And the fact that there's only one professional actor among the group, it's nothing short of spectacular. And I know I've repeated that term, but I'll keep repeating it because that's really it's the best way to describe this movie in so many different ways. Alexandre Rodrigues is Rocket. I thought he was genuinely amazing. Just a really good performance that had a lot of nuance to it, a lot of depth. There's a lot of different emotions that this character goes through, and he's the lead. He's also doing the narration. He handles the narration well. He handles the on-screen acting well. He does a great job, even providing a bit of charisma when it comes to his character. Definitely has a screen presence. And Leandro Firmino is a little Zay, downright terrifying, just a legitimately intense presence. Douglas Silva was also really good as a little Dice. who in some ways is even more disturbing than the older little dice. But both of them did an excellent job playing their characters. Um, Phellipe Haagensen, he was also really good as Benny, the likable, charismatic, cool hood, the kind of guy you wanted to party with and be friends with. It was refreshing to see that kind of member of a gang, so to speak. Yeah, he's doing drugs and he's doing all this other stuff, but he definitely did come across like a legit man of the people and a guy who, just wanted to live life, wanted to live it up, smoke some pot and listen to some rock music and be with the woman he loves. There was a certain laid back quality to him that was very endearing, and it came across as very real. It didn't come across like he was faking it by any means. Matheus Nachtergaele is Carrot. His experiences as a professional actor definitely did pay off here because he did a good job playing this opposing drug dealer who is involved in a drug war, and a gang war with Little Zay. Uh, Jorge as Knockout Ned, like, was a really solid performance. Like, the guy definitely did a good job playing this character who he's a soft-spoken guy. He's a guy who is a genuine gentleman, but he just gets roped up and wrapped up in a difficult situation. He becomes a part of Carrot's gang because he wants revenge for what happened to some of his family when Little Zay decided to gun them down one night, and also what happened to his wife, who was assaulted in front of him by Little Zay. But it just turns into something that ultimately starts to consume him, and he becomes the hood, the very thing that he didn't want to be. And the fact that this is a character that has a lot of conflict when it comes to what he's going through, I feel that it's kind of a difficult role for a lesser actor to pull off, and Jorge did it. He did a really good job. Jonathan Hagdison as Shaggy, the older brother of Benny and the leader of the Tender Trio. He was good, as was the other Tender Trio members. Jeff Chandler Sapino as Clipper, and Edson Oliveira as Stringy, and Renato de Souza as Goose. Roberto Rodriguez was really good as Bernice. Alice Braga was good as an Angelica. Um, Pretty much everybody in the cast did good work. So yeah, it's a film that I definitely do feel is elevated by these performances. It's a big reason why the film works as well as it does, and why it's so immersive and so gritty and so real, because the performances are just so authentic across the board. Now, the film also features some gorgeous cinematography by Cesar Charlone and excellent editing by Daniel Resende. The editing in this is on another level. Like, the editing in this is some of the best editing you will honestly see in anything. Like, from the opening sequence, where it's just a simple sequence of people cutting up carrots and working with chickens, and honestly, it looks like they're just getting ready to cook some dinner. But the way that it's edited, it's just got this pace to it and this energy to it that's just downright infectious. And then it just continues throughout the movie to just add such a unique flavor and feel and overall visual style to the movie. Because there's always moments where there will be a bit of editing that is just genuinely cool. Or there'll be a transition shot, which is just terrific. Or there will be a moment where you'll have one sequence and then it'll transition to another sequence, but the way that it transitions due to the editing is just really eye-catching. And so there's just a lot of moments like that throughout the film when it comes to the editing that really do stand out and are just absolutely stellar. The music by Antonio Pinto and Ed Cortez is fine. I wouldn't say that it's like one of the most memorable scores, but I don't think it's really a film that's trying to really rely that heavily upon music or score to carry the emotion. It does that more with the performances, and with the story and with the strength of the script. But the music is fine. It's more of a background kind of thing, though. It's more for atmosphere and mood than really anything else. And despite the runtime of it being like over 2 hours, it's really well paced because it doesn't linger on these different vignettes like the Tender Trio or the history of the apartment that Blackie took over where he was selling pot out of, or the story of Little Zay, or the stuff with Rocket and Benny, or what's going on with Angelica. You know, it's not really one of those things where it lingers on any of these different subplots or any of these vignettes too long to the point where one of them gets boring or one of them gets too tedious. And then the different ways that it ties all of them together into one cohesive story, even with loosely connected parts, just makes it such a worthwhile film in the end, because everything that happened, everything that you see, ultimately has some sort of connection. So it's not one of those things where stuff just feels like it's not really fitting together. So it's not really one of those instances where stuff is out of place. And it also isn't confusing, which is something that I really feel is genuinely impressive considering the fact that there's so much that's going on in this film and there's so many characters, and it could easily be something that you could just get lost, or you're just not interested in one subplot versus the next, but it never really gets to that point. It's still equally as compelling from beginning to end. So yeah, this is a prime example to me of a film that's 2 hours or so, but definitely does not feel like it. I think that this is a film that certain writers, certain filmmakers should maybe study in terms of how to make a movie that has all these different parts and all these different subplots, all these different characters, and still feels like it's tightly paced despite its runtime. And it's just one of those movies that after it's over, I legitimately wanted to watch it again because I just was really that immersed in the world and the characters and its story. And there's all these little things that I noticed throughout that make me wonder if there's other little things, like the moment where Rocket, when he and his friend are thinking about doing some holdups, it doesn't go well. And they ultimately chicken out, but he gets a number from this girl at this bakery that he's thinking about holding up. And throughout this whole part of the film, he's on this quest, this mission to lose his virginity because he tried to do it with Angelica, but it didn't work because Benny stole his girl. And he has a prime opportunity, it seems like, there, but he smokes it away. He literally uses her number, the paper with her number on it, as rolling paper to make a joint that he smokes with his friend when they get a ride from this guy from Sao Paulo, who they happen to kind of befriend a little bit, despite the fact that the guy's from Sao Paulo, and they even say things like, "Well, there no one from Sao Paulo is cool," but he turns out to be kind of a cool guy. So it's moments like that they're small, but they just make the movie all the more special. And I'm just wondering if there's other moments like that I might have missed. But yeah, even if you're not really that big into foreign films, even if you're not really a huge fan of crime dramas, I still would highly recommend this movie for the performances, for the phenomenal direction. I mean, for all of this alone, as well as the screenplay, it's just one of those movies that I think is absolutely brilliant. And it's definitely one of those films that lives up to the hype and lives up to its high praise and then some. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of City of God, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.